Hala Madrid, and welcome back to Ruido Blanco, the show where we say what the press is too polite to say. Tio, before we even talk about Benfica, we need to talk about what is happening with Prestianni, because I am sitting here genuinely furious.
And you should be. For anyone just tuning in, there's an allegation that Prestianni, the Benfica forward, racially abused Vinicius during a match. And the conversation in some corners has been absolutely backwards about who the victim is here.
There's a marca piece out today with the headline, I'm paraphrasing, Benfica should not forget that the victim is Vinicius, not Prestianni. And I thought, Madre mia, why do we even need to say this out loud? Why is this a debate?
Because Prestianni travels to Madrid looking like he's the wronged party, and Benfica's press conference was, let's be generous, carefully worded. Luke Bacchio, his own teammate, basically said, if he said it, I can't accept that. That's a teammate throwing shade.
And one fan online made a point that stuck with me. He said, we would be absolutely furious if this was the other way around, so why are people letting it slide? And he's right. Imagine if a Madrid player did this to someone at Benfica. The headlines would be unreal.
The double standard around Vinicius and racism incidents is well documented at this point, Rafa. It's exhausting, but it's real. What I will say is, Courtois actually spoke well today. He said, quote, as a society, we need to stop being so stupid. Which is not the most elegant phrasing, but the sentiment. Correct.
Courtois keeping it blunt as always. But here's what I want the fan base to hold on to going into this match. Vini walks onto that pitch in Lisbon, and every time he touches the ball, that stadium is going to be hostile. And you know what Vini does with hostility? He eats it.
In theory. We did spend most of yesterday's episode talking about how Vini looked off the pace against Osasuna, so let's not canonize him just yet. One fan put it plainly. I know Vini was missing his hustle last game. And that's fair. The aura doesn't always show up.
Okay, but there's another fan who pushed back hard on the anti-Vini wave, and I think this is worth reading because it's the best comment I've seen this week. He said, baffling how quickly people turned on Vini instead of backing a genuine big-game player, someone who's actually delivered in 2 Champions League finals. Que barbaridad. That is the take.
It is a legitimate point. The fan frustration after Osasuna got redirected at Vinicius in a way that felt disproportionate. Like, there are 11 players on that pitch. But let's be honest, the comment section after Osasuna was not subtle about who people wanted to blame.
And that brings us to the elephant in the room, the elephant who cost 200 million euros and apparently does not track back. Mbappé, Tio. I love him. I want to love him. But the fans are asking a very simple question this week. If the midfield crashes the box, who covers defensively? And the answer everyone is screaming is not Kylian.
There was a fan comment that made me laugh, but also made me sad. If the midfield crashes the box, who covers? Fucking Mbappé? The question mark is doing so much work in that sentence. Because the answer is obviously no, and everyone knows it, and yet the system keeps asking Mbappé to lead the line as a 9.
And another fan added, and this is the brutal part, who's going to defend? Mbappé or Vini surely aren't coming back, and the central defenders we have are liabilities. So we're exposed at both ends simultaneously. This is a structural crisis, not just a personnel quirk.
Christophe Dugarry, World Cup winner, professional provocateur, went on television today and said, I'm paraphrasing, if the Spanish players don't want Kylian anymore, just send him back. Which is a very French thing to say, but underneath the drama, he's identifying a real tension in the squad.
Send him back where, Christophe? PSG, after everything? Venga, please. But look, I don't think fans actually want Mbappé gone. They want Mbappé to be Mbappé. The problem is nobody can agree on what position unlocks that, and at 9, it clearly hasn't worked consistently.
The funniest fan comment of the week, and I mean this lovingly, was someone who said, the funniest thing is the striker is also complaining that nobody is in the box. He's above football, our special Kiki boy. The sarcasm in special Kiki boy could power a small city.
Ha! But that's the core of it. Mbappé wants bodies in the box, the midfielders want Mbappé to be the body in the box, and meanwhile, Arbeloa is in the press conference today refusing to talk about Laporta. Everyone is avoiding the actual conversation.
Arbeloa said, and I quote, I don't talk about the words of candidate Laporta. Which is very diplomatic for a man whose team just lost to Osasuna. Focus on the house that's on fire, Alvaro.
Okay, let's talk about the one thing making fans genuinely happy this week. And it's not even something that's happened yet. It's the idea of Bellingham coming back. The fan comments about Jude have this desperate, almost romantic energy. One guy wrote, and I quote, "Come back, GOAT, and free us from Arda ball."
Free us from Arda ball. I want that on a banner. But the frustration is real, and it comes from a tactical place. Multiple fans pointed out that Bellingham is essentially the team's designated box crasher, the one who arrives late into dangerous areas with physicality and aerial threat. And without him, that role just doesn't exist.
One fan laid it out perfectly. None of these players are box crashers in any way. No real aerial threat, no physical play. Your number 9 is supposed to be the main box threat, but if he's not doing it, Jude was the guy doing it. And Jude is injured, so we have a box that nobody is crashing.
And the brutal irony that the same fans keep pointing out, when Bellingham comes back, Trent gets injured. When Trent comes back, Bellingham gets injured. It's like the football gods have a sick sense of humor, and they're specifically targeting this midfield.
Speaking of injuries, Huijsen is out for Benfica, which means the backline against a Benfica side who will absolutely test us aerially and physically is going to be concerning. Madre mia, this squad depth issue is not going away.
Here's my actual prediction for tonight, though. The Prestianni controversy, the hostile crowd, the pressure on Vini specifically, that's the kind of environment where this Madrid side has historically found something. Romanticize it if you want, but the Champions League tends to wake them up when La Liga doesn't.
I want to believe that. I really do. And look, Vini on a revenge mission in a Champions League knockout atmosphere against a team whose player allegedly racially abused him, that is either going to be a masterpiece or a disaster, and either way, we're going to be talking about it.
Which means we'll be back tomorrow with the fallout, the hot takes, and whatever Rafa says that he'll regret by Thursday. That's all for today's Ruido Blanco. Stay loud, stay Madridista.
Hala Madrid, Tio. Always and forever. We'll see you on the other side of this one.